Hi everyone. This is a video taking a look at naming some examples of esters. Remember that esters have a special functional group. It's two different carbon chains separated by an oxygen, and then on one side or the other is a double bonded oxygen. Before we get into the naming, let's just look for that functional group in these three examples. There's an oxygen right in between two different carbon chains, and then directly next to it on the left or the right is a double bonded oxygen. Here's an oxygen in between some carbons, and right next door is a double bonded oxygen. An oxygen separating two carbon chains, and right next door a double bonded oxygen. The double bonded oxygen could be the left or to the right of that one that breaks the chain into two parts. Let's look at the naming rules. The name is going to have two words. We care about whether it's the alcohol side or the acid side. My first step when I have to name an ester is to find that oxygen in the middle of the chain and put a line through it. That really helps me to isolate the double bonded oxygen, as well as it really separates the two carbon chains from each other. We want to name the alcohol side first. The alcohol side is the side that does not have the double bonded oxygen. This first example would be this side. Here's the double bonded oxygen. That's the acid side. The side without the double bonded oxygen is the alcohol side. We're going to name it first. We're going to name it like it was a branch, like it was an alkyl group. Use a prefix that ends in YL. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is bute, but it's an alkyl group, so it's called butyl. Even though it's on the right-hand side of this picture, it's going to be the first part of the name. Butyl. We're now going to start another word. The second word is the acid side. The side that has the double bonded oxygen is the acid side. We're going to name it like it was an alkane, and then take the E off and put OH, so we end up with things like methanoate, ethanoate, or even pentanoate. It has two carbons here on the acid side. Two carbons would be ethane. Take the E off, put O8 on, it matches this one, ethanoate. It's two distinct words. If there are no branches, we're not going to have any numbers. The second example follows the same process. I like to find the oxygen in the chain, put a line right through it. It really helps me. For me, it makes the double bonded oxygen stand out, and it separates the two carbon chains. We want to start with the alcohol side, the side that does not have the double bonded oxygen. We're going to name it like a branch. Here's the alcohol side. It's one carbon. We're going to name it like a branch. This one is ethyl. Then we're going to name the acid side in a second word. The acid side has the double bonded oxygen. Name it like an alkane. Take the E off and put in OH. Methanoate, ethanoate. This one is a 3-carbon chain. Would be propane. Take the E off and put O8 on. Propanoate. A third time. This time we can see a branch on here for us to deal with. The first step, put a line through that oxygen. It really is important to identify which is the alcohol on the acid side, count the number of carbons. Like the previous example, the alcohol side is on the left-hand part of the molecule. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4 carbons in it. name it like it was an alkyl group, like it was a branch. We normally don't see branches in an alkane or an alkene with 4 carbons in it, so it might take a little bit of getting used to, but the prefix for 4 is but, and branches always end in YL. So this is butyl. We treated that part totally individually first. It's the alcohol side. Now, the second part of the name, the second word, is the acid side. This one has a branch on it. Let's think about what the root would be before we deal with the branch. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons. 5 carbons, we would name it like an alkane, take the E off and put on OATE. This one would be pentanoate because of our 5 carbons. I'm going to leave lots of space. Pentanoate. What about this branch right here? We've seen it a lot of times. This is a branch with 1 carbon in it. It's called methyl. But we need to say which part of the pentanoate is the methyl attached to. Oh, what did we say over here? If there are additional branches, start numbering from the functional group. So this carbon here with the double bonded oxygen, part of the functional group, is carbon number 1. We have 1, 2, 3, and that's where the methyl is attached to. 3-methyl pentanoate. So the whole name of this compound is butyl 3-methyl pentanoate. It's 2 words. Because this branch is on the acid side of the compound, the name for it is attached to the acid part of the name. The alcohol side stands alone with butyl. It does not have any branches on it. The first step to naming an ester is to identify the alcohol and the acid side. One strategy that's pretty effective for doing that is to put a line through the oxygen that separates the chain in 2. It will make the double bonded oxygen stand out, and it will show you where the words are going to get split. Remember that the side without the double bonded oxygen is the alcohol side, and it's always named first. We're going to name it like it was an alkyl group. Here we had butyl, methyl, and then butyl again. The acid side ends with O8, and if we have any branches, we're going to name them in a familiar way, methyl, dimethyl, ethyl. But to assign them a number, we're going to count out from the functional group. Also, see how we talked about naming branches in 2 different scenarios? This one, the branch was on the acid side, so the name for that branch was on the word that had to deal with the acid. If there was a branch on the alcohol side, it would be attached to the alcohol part of the name.